Captain Vexla had been flying cargo ships for 20 years. She knew the trade routes, the safe ports, and the dangerous sectors. She knew which pirates to avoid and which officials could be bribed. But more than anything, she knew the stories. Every spacer in the outer colonies talked about the human warship. They called it the Vengeance. Some said it was black as empty space itself. Others claimed you could never see it coming until it was too late. But everyone agreed on one thing. If you saw that ship, you ran. You ran fast and you ran far because humans did not forgive. Vexla was Corvian. Her people had stayed neutral during the war between humanity and the Zoltan Empire. The Corvians traded with everyone and fought with no one. That was how they survived in a dangerous galaxy. Vexla had carried cargo for Zoltans, humans, Centaurans, and dozens of other species. She asked no questions and kept her manifest clean. Today she was hauling medical supplies to Haven's Gate, a neutral space station 3 weeks from Corvian space. It was a routine job, easy money. Her crew of 5 were relaxed, playing cards in the mess hall while the ship flew on autopilot through the empty void between stars. Talrek was her navigator, a young Corvian fresh out of the academy. He was good with numbers but nervous about everything. He sat at his station on the bridge, monitoring the sensor displays like he always did. Vexla was in her captain's chair, reading through supply requests for their next job. The alarm made them both jump. Talrek's fingers flew across his console. His face went pale, which for a Corvian meant his skin turned from blue to almost white. "Captain, I have a contact, unknown vessel. It just appeared on our sensors." Vexla stood up and walked to the navigation station. "What do you mean it just appeared? Ships do not just appear." "It was not there 30 seconds ago. Now it is." Talrek pulled up the sensor data. "Energy signature is strange, very strange. I have never seen anything like this." Vexla studied the readings. The ship was big, maybe twice the size of her own vessel. It was running with minimal power output, which explained why they had not detected it sooner. But now it was lighting up, powering weapons and engines. "Get me a visual," Vexla ordered. The main screen flickered and showed the ship. Vexla felt her blood turn cold. It was black, not painted black, but black like it absorbed all light. The hull had 3 sections connected in a triangle shape. Weapon ports lined every surface, and on the side, in white letters that seemed to glow against the darkness, was a name: Vengeance. "Jump to hyperspace, now!" Vexla's voice was sharp. Talrek's hands shook as he entered the commands. "Hyperspace engine needs 2 minutes to charge." "We do not have 2 minutes." The comm system crackled to life. A voice filled the bridge. It was human, female, and cold as ice. "This is Commander Lisa Hayes of the human warship Vengeance. Unknown cargo vessel, you will maintain your current position and prepare for inspection. Do not attempt to flee. Do not power weapons. Any hostile action will result in your immediate destruction." Vexla grabbed the comm unit. "This is Captain Vexla of the merchant ship Distant Horizon. We are a Corvian vessel operating under neutral trade agreements. We have done nothing wrong." "Your compliance is noted, Captain Vexla. We are not interested in you or your ship. We are tracking a war criminal. 6 months ago, your vessel made a stop at Zoltan Station Delta 7. You took on passengers. We need information about those passengers." Vexla's mind raced. 6 months ago. Yes, they had stopped at Delta 7. They had carried a dozen Zoltan passengers to Haven's Gate. It was normal business. She had checked their credentials. Everything had been legal. "I carried passengers. All had proper documentation. I broke no laws." "We know, Captain. We simply need your passenger manifest and any records you have. Provide them, and you may continue on your way." Talrek leaned close to Vexla and whispered, "Captain, we should give them what they want." Vexla nodded. She turned back to the comm. I will transmit our records now. Received. We are reviewing them now. Remain in position. The bridge fell silent. Vexla watched the vengeance on the screen. It hung there in space like a predator watching its prey. She had heard the stories about this ship. It had been hunting for 3 years. It never stopped. It never gave up. The war had started 5 years ago. The Zoltan Empire had attacked a human colony world called New Providence. 15,000 people died, men, women, and children. The Zoltans said it was a military target. The humans said it was murder. The galaxy had condemned the attack. Trade sanctions were imposed. Diplomatic relations were cut. But only humanity had taken real action. They built 12 warships designed for one purpose: find everyone responsible for New Providence and bring them to justice. The Vengeance was one of those 12 ships. Talrek pulled up information on his screen. Captain, I am reading about this ship. They have captured 67 war criminals. They have never failed a single mission. I know the stories, Talrek. They say humans are different from other species. They do not forget crimes. They do not forgive. They will chase someone for years, across the entire galaxy if needed. Vexla had heard this too. Other species went to war, won or lost, and then moved on. Humans were different. They remembered every crime. They wrote down every name, and they came for you no matter how long it took. The comm crackled again. Captain Vexla, we have found what we need. One of your passengers was General Caxthor of the Zoltan Imperial Guard. He is wanted for war crimes. Your records show he disembarked at Haven's Gate. Is this correct? Yes. He left my ship at Haven's Gate 6 months ago. I have not seen him since. Thank you for your cooperation, Captain. You are free to continue your journey. However, I recommend you avoid Haven's Gate for the next few days. We will be conducting operations there. The Vengeance began to turn away. Vexla felt relief wash over her. But the commander, Lisa Hayes, stood on the bridge of the Vengeance and watched the merchant ship jump to hyperspace. She felt no satisfaction. The Corvian captain had done nothing wrong. She was just a trader trying to make a living. But she had carried a monster, and now Lisa knew where that monster was hiding. Set course for Haven's Gate. Maximum speed, Lisa ordered. Her executive officer, Lieutenant Kyle Morrison, entered the commands. Course plotted. We will arrive in 14 hours. Lisa nodded and walked to the tactical station where Lieutenant Danny Peterson was reviewing data. Danny had been with her since the beginning, since the day they launched the Vengeance 3 years ago. He was young but sharp, and he hated the Zoltans as much as she did. Show me everything we have on Caxthor, Lisa said. Danny pulled up files on the main screen. General Caxthor appeared, a large Zoltan with gray skin and 4 arms. His military record was long. He had served the Zoltan Empire for 30 years, rising through the ranks to become a general in the Imperial Guard. He commanded the assault on New Providence, Danny said. He gave the direct order to fire on the civilian shelters. Intelligence reports say he knew they were shelters. He knew there were children inside. He fired anyway. Lisa's jaw tightened. She had seen the after-action reports. She had read the survivor testimonies. Caxthor had not just attacked military targets. He had deliberately targeted civilians to break human morale. It had not worked. Instead, it had turned humanity into something the galaxy had never seen before. How many names are left on our list? Lisa asked. 83 confirmed targets still at large, Danny replied. But we get new intelligence every week. Some of the people responsible are still being identified. Kyle walked over to join them. The other hunter ships are having success too. The Retribution captured 2 targets last month. The Reckoning got 1 3 weeks ago. We are closing in on all of them. Lisa looked at the list of names on the screen. Each name represented someone who had played a part in the New Providence massacre. Some had given orders. Some had piloted the bombers. Some had built the weapons. All of them were guilty. The galaxy thinks we are obsessed, Kyle said quietly. They say we should move on. They say holding on to anger is unhealthy. The galaxy does not understand, Lisa replied. This is not about anger. This is about justice. Those 15,000 people deserve justice. Their families deserve justice. And every species in the galaxy needs to know that you cannot murder humans and walk away. Danny pulled up another file. Heaven's Gate is going to be a problem. It is neutral territory. The station council will not want to cooperate. They will cooperate, Lisa said. They always do in the end. The bridge crew worked in silence as the Vengeance flew through hyperspace. Lisa walked to her ready room, a small office behind the bridge. She sat at her desk and opened a drawer. Inside was a data pad with 15,000 names, the victims of New Providence. She scrolled through the list slowly. Sarah Martin, age 7. Her parents had been engineers building fusion reactors. Bobby Grant, age 42. He had been a teacher. Emma Rodriguez, age 19. She had been studying medicine, hoping to become a doctor. Lisa read through the names every day. It was important to remember. The galaxy wanted humans to forget, to move on, to let the Zoltan war criminals live out their lives in peace. But Lisa would not forget. None of the hunter crews would forget. She closed the datapad and returned to the bridge. Kyle was talking to the comm officer, a woman named Rachel Simmons. "What is it?" Lisa asked. "Message from Heaven's Gate," Rachel said. "The station administrator wants to talk to you. He says it is urgent." "Put him through." The main screen changed to show a human man in his 50s. He wore the uniform of a station administrator. His name tag read Ryan Chen. "Commander Hayes, I heard you are heading to my station," Ryan said. "I need to know what you are planning." "We are planning to arrest General Caxthor for war crimes. He is on your station." Ryan's face showed concern. "Heaven's Gate is neutral territory. We have treaties with over 40 species. If you conduct a military operation here, it could cause a diplomatic incident." "Then surrender, Caxthor, and there will be no operation," Lisa replied calmly. "You know I cannot do that. The station council will never agree. They believe in the neutrality of this place. Surrendering someone would violate that neutrality." Lisa leaned forward. "Listen carefully, Administrator Chen. I know you are human. I know you left Earth before the war started. But you need to understand something. We are coming to Heaven's Gate. We will find Caxthor. We will take him into custody. You can help us, or you can stay out of our way. But you cannot stop us." Ryan shook his head. "You are putting me in an impossible position." "No, the Zoltans put you in an impossible position when they murdered 15,000 civilians. We are just cleaning up the mess. You have 14 hours to prepare. I suggest you use that time to convince your council to cooperate." Lisa ended the transmission. Kyle looked uncomfortable. "Commander, he has a point. If we violate Heaven's Gate neutrality, we could turn other neutral stations against us." "They are already against us," Lisa said. "The galaxy wants us to forget New Providence. They want everything to go back to normal. But normal ended the day the Zoltans attacked. Now there is only before and after." Danny spoke up from Tactical. "Commander, I have a question. What happens when we catch all the war criminals? What happens when the list is empty?" Lisa was quiet for a moment. She had asked herself the same question many times. "Then we go home," she finally said. "We return to Earth. We return to our families. We try to rebuild what was lost. But until that day comes, we keep hunting." The crew returned to their duties. The Vengeance flew on through hyperspace, counting down the hours until they reached Heaven's Gate. In her ready room later that evening, Lisa recorded a message to her family on Earth. Her mother and father were still alive. Her sister had survived the war. They all lived on New Hope now, a colony world built to replace New Providence. "I know you worry about me," Lisa said into the recorder. "I know you want me to come home, but I cannot. Not yet. There are still people out there who think they can murder humans and face no consequences. As long as they are free, I have to keep hunting." She paused and looked at a photo on her desk. It showed her younger brother, Daniel. He had been visiting New Providence when the attack happened. He had been in one of the shelters that Caxthor destroyed. He was 23 years old when he died. "I am doing this for Daniel," Lisa continued. "I am doing this for all of them. And I promise you, Mom and Dad, I will come home. When the last name is crossed off the list, I will come home." She ended the recording and sent it. Then she returned to the bridge. "Status report," she ordered. Kyle checked his console. 12 hours to Haven's Gate. All systems are operating normally. The crew is ready." Haven's Gate was the largest neutral station in the outer colonies. It floated in space at the border between 3 different territories. No single government controlled it. Instead, a council of representatives from 12 species managed the station together. The station was huge. Over 200,000 people lived there. Merchants sold goods from 100 different worlds. Travelers passed through on their way to distant systems. Refugees found safety there when wars destroyed their homes. Haven's Gate was supposed to be a place where everyone was welcome. Ryan Chen had been the station administrator for 8 years. He was good at his job. He knew how to balance the interests of different species. He knew how to keep the peace. But he had never faced a problem like this before. The station council met in emergency session 12 hours before the vengeance was scheduled to arrive. Representatives from all 12 member species sat around a large table. The mood was tense. Vel Noth, the security chief, was a Centauran. He had been arguing for an hour. "We cannot allow the humans to conduct military operations on this station. Our neutrality is sacred. If we surrender Caxthor, we set a terrible precedent." Council member Pixelar, a small insectoid species called the Vrel, agreed. "Today it is a Zoltan general. Tomorrow it could be anyone. We must protect all residents equally." But Council member Torvan, a massive reptilian from the Drogoth Combine, disagreed. "Caxthor is a war criminal. He murdered thousands of civilians. Why should we protect him?" "Because that is what neutrality means," Velnoth replied. "We do not judge. We do not take sides. We provide safe harbor for all." Ryan listened to them argue. He understood both sides. Haven's Gate had to maintain its neutrality to survive. But he also understood something the others did not. He understood humans. "You do not know what you are dealing with," Ryan said, speaking up for the first time. "I am human. I know my people. Commander Hayes will give you exactly 1 hour to surrender Caxthor. When that hour ends, she will come aboard this station. Anyone who tries to stop her will be moved aside. Not killed, not injured, just moved aside. And then she will find Caxthor and take him. This station has 3,000 security officers," Velnoth said. "We can defend our neutrality." Ryan shook his head. "No, you cannot. The Vengeance carries 100 Marines. They have been training for 3 years. They have conducted 67 successful extractions. They have never failed. Not once." "You want us to surrender without a fight?" Pixelar asked. "I want you to be realistic," Ryan replied. "The humans are not here to conquer us. They are not here to destroy us. They are here for one person. Give them that person and they will leave. Refuse and they will take him anyway. The only difference is whether we cooperate or get embarrassed." The council argued for another 2 hours. Finally, they voted. 7 members voted to refuse the human demands. 5 voted to cooperate. Haven's Gate would not surrender Caxthor. Ryan left the council chamber feeling sick. He knew what was coming. Meanwhile, in the lower commercial districts of the station, General Caxthor was planning his escape. He had been hiding on Haven's Gate for 6 months, using a false identity. He worked as a cargo inspector, a job that let him move around the station without attracting attention. When he heard the vengeance was coming, he panicked. He had thought he was safe. He had thought the humans would never find him. Now he needed to leave, and fast. He contacted a smuggler named Jake Dalton. Jake was human, but he had left Earth 10 years ago. He had no loyalty to any government. He smuggled people and cargo for anyone who could pay. They met in a dark bar in Section 7 Delta, one of the oldest parts of the station. The bar was filled with criminals and outcasts. No one asked questions there. Caxthor sat across from Jake at a corner table. He wore a hood to hide his face. "I need to leave this station. Quietly. Before the vengeance arrives," Caxthor said. Jake was a lean man in his 40s with cold eyes. He studied the Zoltan carefully. "You are the one they are hunting, the New Providence butcher. I am a military officer who followed orders. Nothing more." "Orders to kill children?" Caxthor's 4 hands tightened into fists. "I did my duty to my empire." "The humans are fanatics who cannot let go of the past." Jake leaned back in his chair. "How much are you paying?" 50,000 credits. Half now. Half when we reach safe territory. "Make it 100,000 and you have a deal." Caxthor hesitated, then nodded. "Agreed. When do we leave?" "My ship is docked in Bay 14. Meet me there in 2 hours. Bring only what you can carry." Caxthor stood to leave, but Jake spoke again. "One question. Do you regret it? Killing all those people?" The Zoltan general looked down at the human smuggler. "Regret is for the weak. I served my empire. That is all that matters." Jake watched him leave. Then he pulled out his comm unit and activated it. "Commander Hayes, this is Jake Dalton. I have information about your target." The response was immediate. "Go ahead, Mr. Dalton." "Caxthor just hired me to smuggle him off the station. We are supposed to meet in Bay 14 in 2 hours. I can hold him there for you." There was a pause. Then Lisa Hayes spoke again. "Why are you helping us?" Jake's voice turned hard. "My sister lived on New Providence. Her name was Kelly Dalton. She was 8 years old. She liked to draw pictures of spaceships. She wanted to be a pilot when she grew up." Another pause. Then Lisa said, "What do you need from us?" "Nothing. Just make sure he pays for what he did." "You have my word, Mr. Dalton. And thank you." Jake ended the transmission and ordered another drink. He thought about Kelly. She had been staying with their aunt on New Providence, visiting during school break. She had been in the shelter when the bombs fell. 2 hours later, Caxthor arrived at Bay 14. He carried a small bag with his belongings and a case with the credits. The docking bay was empty except for Jake's ship, a small freighter that had seen better days. "You are late," Jake said, standing near the boarding ramp. "I had to avoid security patrols. Do you have clearance to launch?" "All set. Come aboard and we will leave immediately." Caxthor walked toward the ship. He felt relieved. In a few hours, he would be far from Haven's Gate. The humans would never find him. He was halfway up the boarding ramp when Jake hit him. The punch came from behind, striking the general in the back of his head. Caxthor stumbled forward, surprised. He turned to fight back, but Jake hit him again, this time in the jaw. "What are you doing?" Caxthor demanded. "My sister lived on New Providence," Jake said quietly. "She was 8 years old." Understanding dawned on the general's face. He tried to run, but Jake tackled him. They fell to the deck, struggling. Caxthor was larger and stronger, but Jake fought with rage. He pinned the Zoltan down and activated his comm unit. "Commander Hayes, this is Jake Dalton in Bay 14, Section 7 Delta. I have your package ready for pickup." 10 minutes later, Lisa Hayes and a squad of Marines arrived. They found Jake sitting on the deck, his hand bloody, with Caxthor unconscious beside him. Lisa looked at the smuggler. "Are you injured?" "Just my hand. He has a hard head." "We will have medical check you, and Mr. Dalton, thank you. You did a brave thing." Jake stood up slowly. "I did not do it for you. I did it for Kelly." "I understand." We have all lost people. That is why we do this. The Marines took Caxthor into custody. Lisa stayed with Jake while a medic treated his hand. What will happen to him? Jake asked. He will stand trial on New Hope. The families of the victims will be there. He will hear their testimonies. He will see what he did to them. And then he will be sentenced. Will he be executed? Lisa shook her head. No. Humans do not execute prisoners. He will spend the rest of his life in prison, at the New Providence Memorial Facility. Every day he will see the names of the people he killed. Every day he will remember what he did. The journey from Haven's Gate to New Hope took 3 weeks. General Caxthor spent that time in a cell aboard the Vengeance. The cell was clean and well lit. He received 3 meals a day. He was not mistreated. But he was never allowed to forget why he was there. The walls of his cell displayed names, 15,000 names. They scrolled slowly, one after another, day and night. Sarah Martin, Bobby Grant, Emma Rodriguez, Kelly Dalton, on and on, never stopping. Caxthor tried to ignore them at first. He told himself they were just names, just numbers in a war. But after 3 weeks of watching them scroll past, something changed. He began to see them as real people, people who had lived, people who had died because of his orders. Lisa Hayes visited him once during the journey. She stood outside his cell and looked at him through the force field. Why do you do this? Caxthor asked. The war is over. Your people won. Why can you not let the past go? Because those 15,000 people deserve to be remembered, Lisa replied. And because you need to face what you did. I was a soldier. I followed orders. You gave the orders. You commanded the assault. You knew those shelters held civilians. You fired anyway. Caxthor looked away. It was war. People die in war. Not like this. Not on purpose. Not children hiding in shelters. Lisa stepped closer to the force field. Do you know what makes humans different from other species? We remember. We write everything down. We keep records. Those 15,000 names will never be forgotten, and neither will yours. She left him alone with the scrolling names. New Hope was a beautiful world. It had blue oceans and green forests. Humans had settled there 50 years ago, building cities and farms. After New Providence was destroyed, refugees from that world came to New Hope. They rebuilt their lives there. The trial was held in the capital city, in a courthouse built specifically for war crimes tribunals. The courtroom was large enough to hold 500 people. Every seat was filled with families of the victims. Judge Margaret Sullivan presided over the trial. She was a severe woman in her 60s who had practiced law for 40 years. She had lost a grandson on New Providence, but she was fair. She followed the law exactly. Caxthor stood in the defendant's box, flanked by 2 guards. He wore simple gray clothing. His 4 hands were bound in front of him. He looked smaller somehow, less impressive than he had when he wore his general's uniform. The prosecution was led by a lawyer named Stephen Park. He was young but brilliant. He had spent 2 years building the case against Caxthor, gathering evidence and interviewing witnesses. Your Honor, the evidence will show that General Caxthor deliberately targeted civilian populations on New Providence, Stephen began. He knew those shelters held children. He knew they posed no military threat. Yet he ordered the attack anyway. This was not a mistake. This was not collateral damage. This was murder. The defense lawyer, a human woman named Carol White, who had been appointed to represent Caxthor, argued that he was following orders from his government. She argued that he believed the shelters were military installations. She did her job, but her heart was not in it. Everyone knew the evidence was overwhelming. The trial lasted 3 weeks. Witness after witness took the stand. Survivors described the attack. Engineers explained how the shelters were clearly marked as civilian. Intelligence officers presented intercepted communications showing Caxthor knew exactly what he was targeting. But the most powerful testimony came from the families. A woman named Linda Gray took the stand. She had lost her husband and 2 daughters on New Providence. "My husband was a teacher," she said, her voice shaking. "He taught history. He loved helping children learn. My daughters were twins. They were 10 years old. They liked to play soccer and read books about space exploration." She looked directly at Caxthor. "They were in Shelter 7 when you bombed it. Do you know what I think about every day? I think about how scared they must have been, how they must have called for me, how they died alone and afraid." Tears ran down her face, but her voice stayed strong. "I want you to remember them. I want you to remember every single person you killed, because I will never forget." One by one, the families told their stories. A man who lost his parents, a woman who lost her brother, a couple who lost their son. Each story was different, but they all ended the same way. Someone they loved was gone forever. Lisa Hayes attended every day of the trial. She sat in the back of the courtroom and listened. She had heard these stories before, during her investigation. But hearing them again, seeing the pain on the faces of the families, reminded her why she did this work. On the final day, Caxthor was given a chance to speak. His lawyer advised him to show remorse, to apologize, to ask for mercy. He refused. "I was a soldier of the Zoltan Empire," he said, standing before the court. "I served my government with honor. I followed the rules of war as my people understand them. If humans choose to remember this differently, that is their choice. But I will not apologize for doing my duty." The courtroom erupted in angry shouts. Judge Sullivan banged her gavel for order. "General Caxthor, you have been found guilty of 67 counts of war crimes against civilian populations," she said. "The evidence against you is overwhelming. You had every opportunity to show remorse. You chose not to." She paused, looking at him with cold eyes. "You said you will not apologize for doing your duty. Very well. I will not apologize for doing mine. You are hereby sentenced to life imprisonment without possibility of parole. You will serve your sentence at the New Providence Memorial Facility, where you will spend every day for the rest of your life looking at the names of those you murdered." The families applauded. Some cried. Some hugged each other. Justice had been served. After the trial, Lisa stood outside the courthouse. The sun was setting, painting the sky orange and red. Ryan Chen from Haven's Gate had come to watch the trial. He found her standing alone. 68 down, Ryan said. "How many more to go?" 82 confirmed targets. But we get new intelligence every week. Some people are still being identified. Do you ever think about what you will do when the list is empty? Lisa watched the sunset. "I think about it sometimes. I have a family back on Earth, a mother and father, a sister. I miss them, but I cannot go home yet, not until the work is done." "This will consume your whole life." "Maybe, but it is important work. Those 15,000 people deserve justice, and the galaxy needs to know that humans do not forget." Ryan was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "I heard what Caxthor said in court, about not apologizing, about doing his duty." "He believes it," Lisa replied. "He truly believes he did nothing wrong. That is what makes it so terrible. He does not see those 15,000 as people. He sees them as numbers, as acceptable losses. But you see them differently. I read their names every day. I know their stories. Sarah Martin wanted to be a veterinarian. Bobby Grant coached youth soccer. Emma Rodriguez was studying to be a doctor. They were not numbers. They were people, and they mattered." The next morning, Caxthor was transferred to the New Providence Memorial Facility. It was a prison built on the ruins of the colony. The shelters where people died had been preserved as a memorial. Their names were carved into black stone walls that surrounded the prison. Caxthor's cell had a window. Through that window he could see the memorial walls. He could see the names. Every day for the rest of his life he would wake up and see those names. Every night they would be the last thing he saw before sleeping. The warden of the facility was a man named George Harris. He had lost his wife on New Providence. He spoke to Caxthor on his first day. "This prison is different from others," George said. "We will not mistreat you. We will." 3 months after the trial, the Vengeance was hunting its next target in the Outer Rim. The crew had settled back into their routine. Search, track, capture. It was what they did. It was what they would keep doing until the list was empty. Lisa Hayes was in her ready room when the priority message came through. It was from Admiral Patricia Grant, the commander of the entire Hunter fleet. Patricia rarely contacted individual ships unless something important had happened. "Commander Hayes, we have a situation," Patricia said when Lisa answered the call. "I need you to divert to the Epsilon sector immediately." "What is the situation, Admiral?" "The Zoltan Empire has requested a meeting. They want to negotiate." Lisa felt her stomach tighten. "Negotiate what?" "They want us to stop hunting their people. They are offering reparations, money for the families, formal apologies. They want the hunt to end." "No." "Commander, you need to hear them out. This could be a chance for real peace." "Admiral, with respect, we already have peace. The war ended 3 years ago. What we do not have is justice, and I will not trade justice for money." Patricia sighed. "I know how you feel. I lost people on New Providence too. But the political situation is complicated. Some governments are pressuring us to accept the Zoltan offer. They say we are being unreasonable. Let them say what they want. Our mission has not changed. Just attend the meeting, Lisa. Listen to what they have to say. Then we will decide together what to do." The meeting was held on a neutral diplomatic station called Unity Point. Representatives from a dozen governments were there. The Zoltans sent a delegation led by Ambassador Vraxtal, a high-ranking official who had not been involved in the war. Lisa arrived with Kyle Morrison and Danny Peterson. They wore their dress uniforms, black with silver trim. The families of New Providence had given them a patch to wear on their shoulders. It showed 15,000 stars, one for each victim. The conference room was large and formal. Representatives sat around a long table. Lisa and her officers sat on one side. The Zoltan delegation sat on the other. Ambassador Vraxtal began. "Commander Hayes, thank you for coming. I know our peoples have been enemies, but I believe we can find a path forward." "I am listening," Lisa said. "The Zoltan Empire deeply regrets the attack on New Providence. It was a mistake, a terrible mistake. We want to make amends. We are prepared to offer substantial financial compensation to the families of the victims. We will issue a formal apology. We will build a memorial. But in exchange, we ask that you stop hunting our people." Lisa was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "How much money?" 5 billion credits, enough to support every family for generations." "And the apology?" "The Emperor himself will deliver it. A full admission of wrongdoing." "And the memorial?" "We will build it on Zoltan Prime, our capital world. The names of all 15,000 victims will be displayed." It sounded generous. Many of the other representatives at the table looked pleased. They thought this was a fair deal. They thought the humans would accept. "No," Lisa said. The room went silent. Ambassador Vraxtal looked confused. "Commander, I do not understand. We are offering everything you asked for." "I never asked for money. I never asked for apologies. I asked for justice." "General Caxthor has been captured. He is in prison. Is that not justice?" "Caxthor is one person. There are 82 more on our list. Until every single one of them faces trial, there is no justice." Another Zoltan delegate spoke up. "You are being unreasonable. The war is over. People want to move on." "The families of 15,000 dead people cannot move on," Lisa replied. Every day they wake up missing someone they loved. Every holiday is incomplete. Every birthday is painful. They will carry that loss for the rest of their lives. So yes, I am unreasonable, and I will stay unreasonable until everyone responsible is held accountable. A human representative from the Colonial Alliance tried to intervene. His name was Walter Price, and he was a politician who believed in compromise. Commander Hayes, consider the bigger picture. This money could help rebuild. It could fund schools and hospitals. Think about what we could do with 5 billion credits. Lisa turned to look at him. Mr. Price, do you know how much a human life is worth? That is not what I meant. You are trying to put a price on 15,000 lives. You want me to accept money in exchange for letting murderers go free. That is exactly what you meant. Walter's face turned red. I am trying to find a practical solution. You cannot hunt these people forever. Watch me. The meeting continued for another hour. The Zoltans increased their offer. 7 billion credits, 10 billion. They offered trade agreements and political concessions. But Lisa's answer never changed. No amount of money would end the hunt. Finally, Ambassador Vraxtall asked, What will it take? What do you want from us? Surrender everyone on our list, all 82 people. Let them face trial. If they are innocent, they will be freed. If they are guilty, they will serve their sentences. That is the only deal I will accept. That is impossible. Some of those people are high-ranking officials. Some are war heroes. Our government cannot simply hand them over. Then we will keep hunting them, one by one, for as long as it takes. Lisa stood up. This meeting is over. Thank you for your time, Ambassador. But my answer is final. She walked out of the conference room. Kyle and Danny followed. Behind them, the room erupted in argument. Some representatives thought Lisa was right. Others thought she was being stubborn, but no one could change her mind. Outside the station, Admiral Patricia Grant was waiting. She had watched the meeting through a video feed. That went about how I expected, Patricia said. Are you going to order me to accept the deal? Lisa asked. No, I agree with you. Justice is not for sale. Patricia walked beside Lisa toward the docking bay where the Vengeance waited. But you need to understand something. The political pressure is going to increase. Some governments want this to end. They want to go back to normal relations with the Zoltans. I do not care about politics. I know, but politics matter. If enough governments withdraw support, we could lose funding. We could lose access to ports and stations. The hunt could become much harder. Lisa stopped and looked at the Admiral. Are you saying we should give up? No. I am saying we need to be smart. We need to maintain public support. We need to remind people why we do this. How? Patricia handed her a data pad. The families want to speak. They want to tell their stories to the galaxy. They want people to understand what they lost. I think we should let them. Lisa looked at the data pad. It contained contact information for dozens of families, people who had lost children, parents, siblings, friends. What do you need from me? Lisa asked. I need you to help organize it. A broadcast, something the whole galaxy will watch. Let the families speak. Let them show the galaxy what 15,000 lives really means. 2 weeks later, the broadcast happened. It was called Remembering New Providence. Every major news network carried it. Billions of people across the galaxy watched. The families stood in front of the memorial on New Hope. One by one, they told their stories. They showed pictures of their loved ones. They described what those people meant to them. Linda Gray spoke about her husband and daughters. Jake Dalton spoke about his sister Kelly. A man named Peter Cole spoke about his parents, who had been doctors trying to save lives when the bombs fell. The broadcast lasted 4 hours. By the end, people across the galaxy were crying. They understood now. Those 15,000 were not just numbers. They were real people with families who loved them. The response was overwhelming. Donations flooded in from ordinary citizens to support the families. Governments that had been pressuring humans to accept the Zoltan deal suddenly went quiet. Public opinion shifted dramatically. The message was clear. The galaxy supported the hunt. Justice mattered more than politics. On the Vengeance, Lisa watched the broadcast with her crew. When it ended, Danny spoke quietly. "Do you think it will change anything?" "Yes," Lisa replied. "It will remind people why we do this. It will give the families a voice, and it will send a message to everyone on our list. You cannot hide forever. We will find you. We will bring you to justice." Kyle checked his console. "Commander, we have new intelligence on our next target. A Zoltan bomber pilot named Zektar. He is hiding on a mining colony in the Kuiper Belt." "How reliable is the intelligence?" "Very reliable. Multiple sources confirmed." Lisa stood up. "Set course. Maximum speed." The Vengeance turned and accelerated away from Unity Point. The hunt continued. In the months that followed, the other hunter ships reported success. The Retribution captured 3 targets. The Reckoning got 2 more. The Justice, another hunter ship, found one hiding on a remote farming world. The list grew shorter. 82 names became 79, then 75, then 70. With each capture, the message spread across the galaxy. If you see that ship, run. Humans do not forgive, but running only delayed the inevitable. The hunters were patient. They were thorough. They never stopped. Time and distance meant nothing to them. 5 years after the trial of General Caxthor, Lisa Hayes stood in her ready room looking at the list. Only 43 names remained. More than half the war criminals had been captured and brought to justice. She thought about Admiral Grant's question from years ago. What would she do when the list was empty? She still did not know. But she knew she would finish the hunt, no matter how long it took, no matter where it led. She had made a promise to 15,000 dead, and she would keep that promise. Because that was what it meant to be human. Humans remembered. Humans did not forgive. But humans believed in justice. Real justice. Not money or apologies or political compromises. Justice meant accountability. It meant consequences. It meant making sure that those who committed terrible crimes faced the truth of what they had done. Lisa opened her datapad and scrolled through the names of the victims. Sarah Martin, Bobby Grant, Emma Rodriguez, Kelly Dalton, 15,000 names. She read through them like she did every day. "We have not forgotten you," she said quietly, "and we never will." The Vengeance flew on through space, hunting its next target. Somewhere ahead, a Zoltan war criminal was running, trying to hide, hoping the humans would give up. They would not. They never would. The hunt would continue until the last name was crossed off the list. And even then, humanity would remember. Because some things should never be forgotten, not torture you. But we will not let you forget what you did. Every day you will see those names. Every day you will remember. Caxthor said nothing. Some prisoners find peace eventually. George continued. They accept what they did. They feel genuine remorse. When that happens, we offer counseling. We offer a chance at redemption, even though you will never leave this place. He looked at the Zoltan general with sad eyes. But I do not think you will ever feel remorse. I think you will die in this cell, still believing you did nothing wrong. And that is the real tragedy. Lisa Hayes returned to the Vengeance that evening. The ship was ready to depart. The crew had already identified their next target, a Zoltan bomber pilot hiding on a mining colony in the Outer Rim. As the ship lifted off from New Hope, Lisa looked down at the planet. Somewhere below, Caxthor was sitting in his cell, looking at names carved in stone. Justice had been served, but there were still 82 more names on the list. The hunt continued. Jake nodded. That is better than death. Death would be too easy. The Vengeance departed Haven's Gate 6 hours later. General Caxthor was secured in the brig. The station council had protested, but only weakly. They were relieved the humans had not forced a confrontation. Ryan Chen watched the warship leave from the station control center. Velnoth stood beside him. "They got what they came for," the Centauran said. "But at what cost? They violated our neutrality." "No," Ryan replied. "They arrested a war criminal. There is a difference." "Is there? What if next time they come for someone we believe is innocent?" Ryan turned to face him. "Then we fight." But Caxthor was not innocent. He murdered children, and now he will face justice. That is what it means to be human. We remember, we do not forgive, but we believe in justice. Velnoth was quiet for a moment. Then he asked, "How many more are on their list?" 82, and they will hunt every single one." "Good. Danny, I want a full tactical analysis of the station. Find all entry points. Identify security systems. I want to know everything before we arrive." "Yes, Commander." Lisa sat in her captain's chair and watched the stars stream past on the view screen. Somewhere ahead, on Haven's Gate, General Caxthor thought he was safe. He thought he had escaped. He thought the humans would eventually give up and stop looking. He was wrong. Humans did not give up. Humans did not stop. And most importantly, humans did not forgive. The hunt was almost over, for Caxthor at least, but there were still 82 other names on the list. After Haven's Gate, the Vengeance would move on to the next target, and the next, and the next. Lisa had made a promise to 15,000 dead. She would keep that promise, no matter how long it took. And Commander Hayes spoke again. "Captain Vexala, I am sending you updated identification codes for the Vengeance and her sister ships. If you encounter any of them in the future, transmit these codes immediately. It will save time. And Captain, a word of advice. Be more careful about who you carry on your ship. The galaxy is full of criminals hiding among honest travelers. Some of those criminals are very dangerous." The transmission ended. The Vengeance accelerated away, moving faster than any ship Vexala had ever seen. In seconds, it jumped to hyperspace and vanished. Talrek let out a breath he had been holding. "We are alive." "Yes. But someone at Haven's Gate will not be so lucky." Vexala sat back in her chair. "Change course. We will deliver our cargo to Station Meridian instead. I do not want to be anywhere near Haven's Gate when the humans arrive." She looked at the empty space where the Vengeance had been. The stories were true. All of them. If you saw that ship, you ran. Because humans did not forgive. They did not forget. And they always got their target.